continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Continue to move until we get the total.
I don't really know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he does either. That is our great, great President Donald J. Trump, soon to be number 47. It would seem killing it on the debate stage last week against current resident-in-chief Joseph Robinette Biden. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Speechless. I'm your host, Phares, 23-year-old conservative activist, host of Speechless, the radio show, and right here wherever you're watching from, whether that's Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, affiliated with Breakaway USA. And to make sure you don't miss a minute of any of the content, the fun, exciting, fascinating content I always cover here. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, all that fun stuff. But many of you guys might know there was a debate just last Thursday, and you might be wondering yourself, if you follow me constantly, you'll say, hey, Kev, you usually cover these debates. You usually live react to them. What the heck? Where were you? Breakaway USA did a show and you weren't on it. What the heck? In fact, actually that night, I was celebrating the bachelor party of one of my good friends, Kevin. Yes, his name is the same as mine. And he got married just over this weekend. So congratulations to the happy couple. I was so happy to be able to celebrate with you and my beautiful date out in Indiana. God bless you guys. God bless your marriage. And thank you so much for allowing me to celebrate with you. Congratulations, Kevin and Mary. Wishing you a lifetime of happiness. And for anybody out there, if you could please pray for the prosperity and love that is born just this weekend in the new marriage of Kevin and Mary. Please pray for them because they are an amazing, amazing couple. And I want to thank you again for including me in even just the small role of celebrating your wonderful, wonderful marriage. But let's get on into the topic of the night. So much highlights from the chaotic CNN debate between Trump and Biden. These aren't just highlights. If anything, they're lowlights. Are they reminiscent of a republic that's falling? Do we have more questions now than we did even prior? We're going to get into all of this tonight. And so we're going to start off with the top five specific highlights or even lowlights from the debate, the most notable moments in the event that you didn't even watch the debate. Here are some of the most notable moments. And so I want to start off simply with number one. President Joe Biden was struggling during this debate. It was clear from the very, very beginning. And so once the debate started, we could all see from his little walking out onto stage, shuffle a little bit just to make sure he didn't fall or anything. Like I said, it was clear that he was struggling. In fact, CNN's Jake Tapper opened the debate by asking Biden about voters' top concerns, the economy and inflation. And Biden's answer shows us just how much he was wavering. Take a look and a listen to this clip from the debate right here.
Being here, let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president, what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach in your arm. You'll be all right.
Which is from the beginning is a lie. But also Biden is completely negating the question. The question was about the economy and inflation. And yes, while COVID has something to do with that, we are at a point now to where everything's open. You're reporting, Biden, record job growth for which you brag about during this debate. And yet prices are still skyrocketing. goods still cost more. Groceries, for some, unaffordable. Some have to choose between eating and driving to work. Keep listening.
The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out a position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, but there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of households where the kitchen tables, things weren't able to be met during the month. It was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of house.
What did he just say? I was at the kitchen table and I just didn't hear. No, the price of costs and goods and the gas. What? Look, I'll tell you all, I was at a bachelor party the night that this debate was happening. We turned the debate on, and I'll admit I had had a few drinks in me, and I was wondering if my alcohol tolerance had gotten so low that I couldn't even understand what a guy on the TV was saying. And then I realized, oh, that's just Joe Biden. Even the most sober Baptist in the world doesn't know what he's saying.
Housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos, literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for a insulin shot.
In fact, Donald Trump actually had legislation that did that much more naturally within the market without having to necessarily put a price ceiling on. And so Biden, that's not new. All you did was tear it down and then have to put it back together.
As opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you. President Trump?
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID. And when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars and so many other things. Everything was rocking good.
Here's the thing, and so I could keep letting Trump go. We know what he's saying, and many, if you're watching this show, you know. All we really needed to hear out of Trump was, we had the greatest economy in the history of this country under my presidency. It's true. It's true. People were paying less in taxes. Goods costed less. We had the best economy. Everything we know when it comes to Joe Biden, it was either unintelligible or a flat out lie or a half truth or misleading. That's what's happening. What Trump is doing here is what everybody said Trump should have done in the debates in 2020. If you watched, Donald Trump did not interrupt. Donald Trump didn't come out swinging too hard. If you look at all the headlines, which we will look at a lot of headlines, almost none of them are about Trump's performance. We're going to constantly ask the question tonight of who won this debate, and the answer is seemingly clear. But the answer is clear not because the individual who won did exceptionally well. He did what was expected of him. He said all the right things, but it wasn't his best performance. No, it was because his opponent did exactly as we all knew he would. That's our first highlight. Just the opening right there, everybody. Just the opening shows us exactly what we're in for. Let's get to highlight number 2, an important one, I will say. And this is an instance that I thought very important. President Joe Biden falsely claimed during the CNN debate against former President Donald Trump on Thursday that no U.S. troops had died under his watch. This is a real thing that Biden tried to claim when I'm old enough to remember Afghanistan. Take a look and a listen to this clip right here of Joe Biden lying flat out to the entire audience. Well, the viewing audience.
Had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want. Jake Tapper, the idiot. But but I've never had anyone die under, no, Afghanistan, deaths. There's others too. In fact, there's been military spouses that have come out and said, my husband died. There was one I just saw. It was posted on Libs of TikTok. This is a digression because I literally saw it before, after I was done prepping for this show and I was getting ready. I was just scrolling through and I saw Libs of TikTok had a military wife that had told a story about how when she was going to collect her remains of her dead husband, Joe Biden, who usually ceremoniously is supposed to be at the receiving of dead soldiers' remains, would not show up. Didn't. That's not even the only instance that got brought up, but the other thing I do want to be clear about too is that entire statement that he says that no troops died. The statement ignores the absolute fact that 13 U.S. service members were killed in a suicide bombing attack on the airport in Kabul during the 2021 U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. I wanted to be clear about the exact facts of the situation in case anybody wanted to try to debate me on that one. I see some people want to debate me in the comments. Common Sense is wondering, Demon Gore, why do you want to debate me? I'm sure there's something. I'm just a fun person to debate. But that's not the only instance in which Joe Biden got very, very wound up about veterans and then blatantly says a lie regarding veterans. In fact, in this next clip, our number 3, Joe Biden perpetuates the mainstream media narrative that Donald Trump at one point called veterans suckers and losers, which all stemmed from some kind of an Atlantic article in which one person said that Donald Trump said this. Donald Trump refutes it, in fact, in the debate as well. Let's take a look and listen to this clip, highlight number 3 right here.
Come in.
President
and it's
Biden,
a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines.
It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. I love how he's just the little jabs. It's death by 1,000 cuts with Donald Trump in his speech.
Made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up. Just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking, it's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation.
Look at Joe's face right here is, oh man. Like that's the most like just disappointed, defeated look right there.
He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star.
Come in.
This debate is absolutely hilarious. And once again, Donald Trump did exactly what he was supposed to do. Let Biden ramble. Let Biden ramble. Because at some point, he's not gonna be able to keep up. And that's what we've been seeing. That's what we've seen through a lot of the debate. In fact, he came out of the gate making little to no sense. In fact, there was even another instance of another highlight we'll cover here that Joe Biden made a disturbing claim during the presidential debate that saying that, quote, a lot of young women are being graped by their in-laws and their brothers and sisters. Interestingly enough, the remark came during a moment when the topic of abortion was being discussed. And then, unprompted, he brings up the issue of immigration, one that obviously is not one that he wins on. It's a fascinating moment. Everybody wants to talk about the clip that I played at the very beginning of this. Everybody wants to talk about that clip of Donald Trump saying, I don't know what he just said. I don't think he even knows what he just said, blah, blah, blah. Everybody likes that clip. Great clip. One of the funniest moments of the entire debate. This highlight right here, though, if you want to talk about mental competency, it's not just that he fumbles the bag in speaking of what Democrats call the stutter, which we all know is like early onset dementia. But it's not that. It's instances like this. And I'll explain why after we look and listen here.
Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in, they talk about that. But here's the deal: there's a lot of young women who are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world, considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping and killing women.
Look, there's so many young women who have been.
So Joe Biden gets asked a question about abortion. Seriously, Joe Biden gets a question about abortion. The one issue that Democrats consistently poll better with for the vast majority of Americans usually is abortion. Why? Because they have done such a good job of removing God from people's lives. That's the first thing. And also selling people on the idea that it's not actually abortion. It's not actually baby murder. It's not actually a procedure that takes the life of an unborn child. No. It's just reproductive rights. And you couldn't have a job or a career. You couldn't actually be an accomplished person if you had to be a mother. They sell that idea. And they've done an effective job of it to the point of which it can control elections. Many people attribute losses in 2022 due to the overturning of Roe v. Wade and fear-mongering sparked by Democrat campaigns nationwide. So, return to this clip. Joe Biden is asked a question regarding abortion, an instance in which he should absolutely be able to demolish Trump. Any half-baked politician could. However, Joe Biden isn't half-baked. He's burnt. Put a fork in him, he's done. And so he gets asked a question about abortion, and he goes on a tangent about you could have easily here as somebody who is pro-life, I could give you the Joe Biden answer to abortion. It's really simple. Most Democrats say it, and it's because they've done a good job of training people's brains. All he had to do get up there and say, look, as Joe Biden, I have always protected Roe v. Wade. We need to reinstate Roe as the law of the land. I'm working with my Congress to do it. We don't want MAGA extremists who hate women to come in and allow women to die because of pregnancies that are threatening the lives of mothers. That's what you do. You come out and you say that. It's a lie. It's a bogus answer. But if you want to win and you're Joe Biden, who already has shown that he has little to no moral code, then get out and say that. But instead, no. He doubles down into a point of which he starts bringing it about immigration, which is his worst, arguably, his worst policy point. Because people are dying because of Joe Biden's immigration policy, because of our open border. So I bring this back to what I said before I even started this video, or this clip, this highlight. Joe Biden, everybody wants to talk about his mental competency as his ability to be president. People want to talk about whether or not he's going to step down. We're going to talk about that here on this show soon. But you could talk about his mental competency. You could talk about the fact that he can't get a sentence out sometimes, that he slips and falls, that he doesn't know where he is. And all that is important to talk about just how bad he really is. But I believe we should have a higher standard for our politicians. That mental competency simply shouldn't just be, oh man, you know where you are at any given point. No, mental competency should also include knowing your policy points and being able to articulate them. If you want to see just how bad Joe Biden is, he can't even regurgitate the same 5 talking points about abortion that they've been saying for as long as Joe Biden has been in the Senate. That's how unfit for president he is. That's how unfit for president he is. It's absolutely insane to me. And I have more highlights here, actually, I want to get to. Number 5, I told you I'd have 5 different highlights. This one, I think, is just another lie and another perfect example of how Joe Biden is a liar. Like he really can't, there's no better way to put it. Joe Biden is a liar, and I question as to whether or not it's a purposeful, intentional lie, or if he simply just doesn't know anymore. Maybe he's just getting so caught up in his lies, he really doesn't know. So take a look and a listen to this instance in which Donald Trump and Joe Biden are asked about immigration, and we get to hear exactly what they think, at least in the best way that we can try to listen. Here's this right here.
A record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch, overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was taking separating.
Did you guys hear that right there, what Biden just claimed about the Border Patrol? Listen one more time.
Number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position.
Did they? In fact, actually, so many people were wondering about this because it doesn't seem real that the Border Patrol Union took to Twitter to clear the air. Pretty simply, they stated right here, to be clear, we never have and never will endorse Biden. So there's that. Keep listening to the rest of this clip. Oh, It would seem as though my audio has gotten a little messed up here, so I'm gonna close this out real quick. And sorry, this is what happens when I produce for my own show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment to support me. So maybe eventually I can actually get a full-time producer. But let's keep going with the rest of Biden's answer right here.
Separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue.
That's like simply untrue. Like that's factually untrue. Look it up.
Continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere, all over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in
Thank you, President
caravans.
Trump.
Absolutely. And I got to say, this was the best response by Trump for the entire night. I mean, not only did he start off with the funniest line of the night, his response was clear, concise, and also hit against Biden on all key points of immigration that a significant number of Americans are feeling and reeling with the effects of. I do also want to, since we're going through highlights, before we get into some other analysis of this debate, we talk about claims that Biden might be stepping down, what Bill O'Reilly has to say exclusively. I want to make sure we listen to the closing statements of this. The full sell from each presidential candidate coming out of this first debate and what they think and what they say is the reason you should vote for them. First off, we start Border Patrol sent that during the debate. Yes, they did. I did see that. That's why. Thank you for commenting on Rumble too. Everybody, you can check me out on Rumble, Speechless with Kev. Yes, they did. I do see also to address some comments because I want you guys to comment, and I will get to all of them, even if they're maybe not directly related to everything we're talking about. I do believe mozzarella cheese is good. Mozzarella cheese is phenomenal. It works on just about anything. But let's get into Donald Trump's closing statement from the debate just the other day. Here's this.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do, all he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military.
So I'm obviously going to keep this going, but even just the first half of this, I got to admit, like I said earlier, I think I made this clear. We asked the question, who won the debate? Overwhelmingly, we know it was Trump. But Trump didn't win the debate because he did a phenomenal job. He had some good lines, some good answers. But if you notice, most of the highlights that I bring up of the debate are, or like I said also earlier, lowlights are instances of Joe Biden fumbling, and making himself look awful. Donald Trump did exactly what he's supposed to do. Donald Trump won the debate not because he was a great debater. He can be, but he didn't win because of that. He didn't win the debate because he articulated incredibly well the whole time. The beginning of this closing statement, I got to admit, seemed jumbled, unput together, poor. But now it's the beginning of this last minute where he really gets into it. He gets into, while a vague pitch, it is clear enough and true that people don't feel like we're respected as a country anymore. And while people might not have liked Trump, they might not have liked his policy, we need to be respected. And he was somebody who demanded respect. Let's listen to the last minute of this.
And they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like, even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
We're going to make it great again. Again, not a great closing argument. It wasn't terrible. It had on some good points. But if you ever watch the end of a Trump rally and the way he ends that, that's a better closing argument. In my opinion, that's what Trump should have done. However, he didn't need to, because then this is what we had from the other side. This is Biden's closing arguments right here.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along, where it's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of fell asleep about halfway through there, but I did wake up at the point where he totally wasted like 10 seconds of his closing argument to go, the 15 to the 35 and the Medicare. No. This is why Trump won. is because that, and I got to admit, honestly, and this is not a compliment, that was the best part of the debate I saw for Joe Biden. That was his best answer. And I do not mean that in any way as a compliment. And I also want to be clear about something, because I feel like people have been talking about the lack, and I've talked about it on this show for a long time. I know that Joe Biden has had mental decline constantly for a long time. However, it is at its worst now. And it's kind of like, the thing is it's kind of like, how you're like, oh my gosh, my kid grew up so fast or something, because like you see him every day. And so you don't even realize how much change can happen from a year, 2 years, 5 years, because you see him and you don't see necessarily every little hair growing, nail growing, anything like that. That's how Biden's mental decline is. We see it all the time. You and I, if you're watching a show like this, you probably see it pretty regularly, because I call it out a lot. But if you really compare just 5 years ago to today, man, 5 years ago, Biden on the debate stage, where'd that guy go? Take a look and a listen. Compare these, 2019 to 2024, right here.
I continue to think we have to make fundamental changes in civil rights. And those civil rights, by the way, include not just only African Americans, but the LGBT community.
He wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I oppose.
making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if you will determine the outcome of this election, vote. If you're able to vote early in your state, vote early. If you're able to vote in person, vote in person. Vote whatever way is the best way for you, because he cannot stop you. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, we don't even realize, like, look how big, how stark the difference is. Even when we knew that Joe Biden was a feeble old man in 2019, 2020, he still at least the drugs worked enough, at least back then, allegedly. But now he is a train wreck against Donald Trump. And I think the biggest thing is the idea that Joe Biden's expectations for this debate were so low. Like, the expectations, people knew. They were like, he's a feeble old man. Like, it's such a low expectation. And even Biden is not a feeble old man. It's an act. I would disagree on that one. I think I'd love to know your evidence as to why it's an act. That'd be very interesting to that idea. Let's not forget Trump cutting drug prices. Biden reversed it. Yeah, absolutely. I talk about that with insulin all the time. OMG, stop being so naive. Biden is a demon. He's faking illness for sympathy and compassion. Interesting. Evil loves a good excuse to continue its plan. I don't necessarily agree with that one, Andrea. I think that's, I don't know I think there's more evidence to show a lack of mental competence than there is to show an act. But that's just the way I see it. In another comparison of not just 2019, 2020 to 2024, less people also seem to be watching the debate this year. The TV ratings for President Joe Biden and Donald Trump's first presidential debate plummeted from where they were 4 years ago when the two men faced off in September of 2020. Numbers from Nielsen show that a total of 51 million people tuned in on Thursday to watch the CNN-hosted presidential debate on TV, which was broadcast over 17 different networks: CNN, Telemundo, Univision, BET, as well as Fox, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, Fox Digital, NBC, and PBS Variety reported. It just keeps getting worse. So less people are even watching now compared to 2020. I'm sure they're catching it on social media and such, though, as it does seem to be taking over headlines. But when I talk about the fact that the expectations were already low for Biden, you want to know how low they were? After the debate, Jill Biden and Joe were on a stage, and this is what Jill had to say about Biden's debate performance. I thought this was hilarious. I think this is probably the funniest clip from the whole thing. Here's this.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
The bar for Joe to do a great job is this. Once again, listen.
You did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Why?
Oh my gosh. You want to talk about somebody evil? You want to talk about evil? I know Andrea wants to talk about evil. Evil is not Joe Biden. Well, I shouldn't say that. Joe Biden now is a feeble old man. I don't think he knows what he's doing half the time. I think he's half there. Evil is somebody who actually is pretty clearly in control of her faculties, and yet she is consistently showing that as if she's just ignoring how Biden acts, how feeble. Like, I mean, even just look at him in this clip that I'm playing. Look at the man. He does not even realize where he is. She goes, for anybody who doesn't know, there's been a constant meme since basically Jill Biden was in office that she was, because there was a rumor that she was very, very keen on being called doctor because she does have a doctorate. However, her doctorate is not in anything of a traditional doctor. If you were on a plane and you were choking to death or having a heart attack and they said, is there a doctor on this plane? Jill Biden might raise her hand, but she couldn't help you. Her doctorate, I believe, is in education. So she might be able to tell you why you're having a heart attack. But if you don't want to die, well, if you don't die from the heart attack, you'll probably die of boredom. But Joe Biden speaks to Joe in this clip like an educator, like she's teaching a kindergartner. Great job, Joe. You answered the questions. Yeah. Pardon my French, but it's a fucking debate. What was he supposed to do? Not answer them? Alas, in some instances, he didn't answer them either. So Jill is also a liar. And then she goes on to just say, Trump's a liar, 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 liar. And the thing is that Joe was clearly a liar. I pointed out at least two of them on this show. Insulin, the Afghanistan draw. He said that no one had died under his watch. The suckers and the losers statement. He's a liar. He is a liar. Jill is committing elder abuse by constantly pretending like Joe is perfectly fine. He's not doing anything wrong. He's fine. He answered all the questions. He did a great job. Oh my gosh. Interestingly enough, however, Joe has been continuing on the campaign trail. And these are just some of the things that he had to say most recently on the campaign trail since the disastrous debate. Absolutely disastrous debate. Here's this right here. We know that too. We know. Oh, I'm seeing there's an audio issue. Sorry, that happens sometimes uh when I'm producing on my own. Let's get this right back up here. Very sorry about that. Let's get this. I'll get this clip going for you guys. We'll make sure we listen to it full right here. Thank you for letting me know.
I know I'm not a young man.
Let me know that it's there
State
now,
the
please, in the
obvious.
comments. I'd appreciate it.
Well, I know. Folks, I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know right from wrong. And I know how to do this job. I know how to get things done. I know I'm not a young man.
He knows. He knows he's not a young man. He knows that he doesn't debate as well as he used to. He knows, but he still claims that he tells the truth. He claims. But we all know that's not true either. Joe Biden has shown constantly recently that he cannot handle everything put in front of him. But evil actors such as Jill and, for a long time, the DNC have constantly propped up the feeble-minded old man in an attempt to try to make it seem like good old Grandpa Uncle Joe that definitely doesn't shower with his daughter and sniff children is just a moderate that wants to help you. However, the shtick was clearly, unavoidably given up due to this debate. And the thing is I wonder, are we asking ourselves the right questions? Are we asking ourselves the right questions? Because now I believe I have more questions about this upcoming election than answers. And I think there's one important question that Donald Trump pointed out clearly in his most recent rally since the debate that we should be asking ourselves about Joe Biden. And here's that.
The question every voter should be asking themselves today is not whether Joe Biden can survive a 90-minute debate performance, but whether America can survive 4 more years of crooked Joe Biden in the White House.
Whether or not America can survive 4 more years of crooked Joe Biden in the White House. He's right. He's right. However, Donald Trump doesn't, or at least maybe he does. Donald Trump is acting under the presumption that Joe Biden is going to be the nominee. Because while Donald Trump is pointing out a very, very important thing that Americans should be asking themselves, whether or not America can survive another 4 years under Joe Biden, Democrats are asking an important question too to themselves. And that's whether or not their party can even survive through this election cycle with Joe Biden as their nominee. So now they might be offering up Joe as a potential sacrifice in the mainstream public eye and doing what only fringe conservatives, right-wingers like myself, have been saying basically since a year ago, that I'm not convinced Joe Biden will be the nominee. The Democrats could do just about anything they want to. But the difference now is that it's not just right-wingers like myself talking about this. It's mainstream media pundits as well. A lot of them. Liberals included. And I want to talk about that, and we will, but I do want to make sure I give a quick shout out to my sponsor real quick, Freedom 2.0. Here's them. Of course, I love Freedom 2.0. I got this one right here. This water, actually, this is a great one. I'll show you guys it on the camera today so that you can see. So, Freedom 2.0, if you guys don't watch the show very often, they have these little sayings on the side. And for the debate, for Joe Biden, it says, "This water ain't sleepy." I don't know if you can read it. This water ain't sleepy. Like crooked Joe Biden, like crooked Joe Biden. But speaking of people that are recognizing how sleepy Joe Biden is, I want to turn your attention to the mainstream media. Like I said earlier, people like myself and other political pundits that have much more influence than I do. Charlie Kirk, being one, Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, all the Daily Wire people, Alex Jones, others. They come out and they've been saying, as long as I have, I'm not convinced Joe Biden will be the nominee. We'll act and we'll comment under that presumption because he says he's running. But there's been talk for quite a while. And if you follow my show, you know I've talked about Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, Michelle Obama, other people that they could try to slide in once people realize the shtick is up. Well, now the shtick is up. How do we know the shtick is up? Let's look at how people reacted to the debate. We have the New York Times, one of the most liberal defenders, a sad, sad state of the country to see an amazing, one time in amazing journalistic source, now tends to lean very, very liberal. New York Times columnists, however, have turned on Biden after his disastrous debate performance. Columnists at the New York Times overwhelmingly turned on President Joe Biden following his disastrous performance during the presidential debate, the 2-hour event. Obviously, we just covered it. Reaction was overwhelmingly negative for Biden on television and social media. He did not do any better when it came to print journalism, as not a single opinion writer at the New York Times said Biden won the debate. The newspaper asked 12 of its columnists and contributors to assess who won the debate. 10 said that Trump won, while the other remaining 2 said that it was, quote, a draw and no one won. Man, for the New York Times, only 2 of their opinion writers said that at best it was a draw. The Times op-ed section was littered with anti-Biden pieces following the debate. However, it's not just the Times. It's not just the New York Times. While that seems to be one of the most liberal ones, I have a list, and this is also from the Daily Wire, of a bunch of headlines from several news sources that just show how negative the response to Joe Biden's performance was. We start here with the New York Times, a fumbling performance and panicking party. President Biden's shaky, halting debate performance has Democrats talking about replacing him on the ticket. Dems freak out over Biden's debate performance. Biden is toast. It's frightening. Democrat voters worried by Biden's struggles in the debate. WTF, panic Dems start looking for alternatives. The debate Democrats feared. Democrats panic over Biden's debate performance, doubt his future. Alarm and amusement. Biden's performance as world reacts to Trump debate. It's even being labeled by NBC as the Trump debate because Biden did so bad. Top Democrat fundraisers sound the alarm after Biden's debate performance. Swing state voters react to presidential debate Biden's weak performance. Biden falls flat against Trump. Biden's disastrous debate pitches his re-election bid into crisis. That's from CNN. BBC, Democrats backed into corner. Analysis, Biden's incoherent debate. Variety, Biden should have never debated Trump, and CNN did him no favors. Man, scathing reviews from the mainstream media. Scathing reviews. It's insane. It is insane. However, we even go to NBC this morning, days after the after the debacle, and this is a longer clip. But we will we'll pause it, react to it a little bit in different ways. But they even say on this NBC clip from this morning, Sunday, June 30th, on Meet the Press, I believe it was this morning, that that Joe Biden has Democrats in a state of crisis. Take a look and a listen to this clip right here.
It is yet another extraordinary moment in the 2024 election cycle, with Democrats in a state of crisis after President Joe Biden delivered a disastrous debate performance that fueled voters' top concerns about his age and ability to serve another 4 years in office. Not since the first Nixon-Kennedy debate in 1960 has a debate had as much potential to shake up a presidential race. This morning, there is widespread panic within the Democratic Party and questions about whether the president should drop out of the race.
I think it was a disaster. I think it was like maybe the worst debate I've ever seen in my entire life.
I do think people feel like that we are confronting a crisis.
There were going to be discussion about whether he should continue.
At first, it was shocking, then it was scary, then it was sad. And by the end, it was absurd. Is the riskiest path sticking with Joe Biden, or is the riskiest path saying we want someone else? And anybody who says that that is not a tough call right now is full of.
On Friday, in a stunning move, the New York Times editorial board called on President Biden to serve his country and drop out of the presidential race. NBC News has learned that President Biden is expected to address his campaign with his family at Camp David. That's according to 5 people familiar with the matter. Now, he and First Lady Jill Biden arrived there late last night to join their children and grandchildren in a trip planned before Thursday's debate.
Look, I want to be clear about something too. Because we just heard a bunch of those liberal pundits, and they're people are like, oh my gosh, liberals are saying like that we might need to replace him, and that his brain was, and that he's mentally unstable. We're just now realizing this. Oh my God, if you believe, if you really think that that we're just now waking up to this, that we didn't know that Biden was this mentally incapable, then you really need to ask yourself, and I mean this in the most empathetic way. Ask yourself, where do you get your news from? How do you consume your media? Because if you didn't know that our president was not all there before that debate, then you have bigger problems on your hand than the president being a feeble-minded old fool. Seriously. And so when we have all these liberals that are out here like, oh my gosh, he really is that bad. I guarantee you those pundits, they already knew that he was that bad, but they were like, we're not really voting for Biden. We're voting for all the people that are pulling the strings, and they know that. But they were like, we still need Biden to look good enough so that the people can pull the strings and be the puppet masters. But now it's clear that they got to ditch the dead horse because the weight is too much.
The campaign was always going to be a topic of conversation, but now undoubtedly Thursday's debate will be front and center. Senior advisor Anita Dunn addressed the matter on Saturday.
You all did not have any kind of conversations about, should Joe Biden drop out of this race?
The conversation that we had is, okay, what do we do next? Mm-hmm. Okay, that is, if there's one thing that we're about, it's, okay, Barack Obama said bad debates happen. We had a bad debate. What do we do next? And, the president, above all, is focused on what do we do next? What do I need to go do?
Oh, I did not mean for that to get reset. Let's get back here.
One goal to
conversation that we had, that is, if there's one thing that we're about, it's, okay, Barack Obama said bad debates happen. We had a bad debate. What do we do next? And, the president, above all, is focused on what do we do next? What do I need to go do?
President Biden, who agreed to the earliest general election debate in modern political history, had one goal: to persuade voters who are skeptical about his age and fitness for office that he is up to serve another 4 years. Mr. Biden has consistently told voters, watch me.
If I were to run, I think they're going to judge me on my vitality. Can I still run up the steps of Air Force Two? Am I still in good shape? Do I have all my faculties? Am I energetic? I think it's totally legitimate for people to ask those questions. This is for the voters to decide. Take a look. Look at me, see if I have the energy, see if I know what I'm talking about, and make their judgment. I think it's a legitimate thing to be concerned about anyone's age, including mine. I think that's totally legitimate. But I think the best way to make the judgment is to watch me.
Well, on Thursday night, voters watched the president deliver a halting performance, at times appearing confused and repeatedly losing his train of thought.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
So that was even NBC recognizing that Joe Biden might be on the way out, that people are not liking what they're seeing with him right now. And I got to be honest with you. This is not good. This is not good. I see these comments here. Wisconsin, it is too late to change the ballot. Technically, Joe Biden has not been nominated yet. By the DNC. That happens in August. Meaning, you're right. It is not possible for them to change a primary ballot by any means. But actually, Joe Biden doesn't have to be the nominee. They can nominate anybody. Once the nominee is set by the DNC, what would have to happen, however, is their primary, because they have currently had primaries, which Joe Biden has been elected as their candidate. But we have not actually had an instance of his actual nomination. Delegates are supposed to go and perform the will of the primary votes. The ironic thing about all of this is that Democrats tend to be the people that claim democracy. We're the party of democracy. We're the Democrats. Democracy being the political philosophy that basically majority rule. 51% can decide for the other 49%. However, in the way that their primary operates, it's not an open primary. It's not any delegate can do whatever they want. It's that they have to do what the party says. It's not even allowing for delegates can easily bypass whatever voters say. They don't have to care about the will of the voters. They can do whatever the heck they want. As of right now, not even what they want, what the party wants them to do, what the party dictates. The party can dictate something that's different than what the will of the people do. The Democratic Party is actually the least democratic organization in politics. They don't care about democracy. They care about exerting their will and expanding power, the power of the government, into every possible facet of the country. Every facet of your life. If the government's not in it, they want to be. We need to stop this. We can't have Biden drop out, because if they do, we don't know what's going to fill his place. We know Trump will beat Biden if Biden is the nominee. Prior to this debate, like I said earlier, only fringe individuals, and I say fringe definitionally, people that I know my opinions are not middle of the road. I know the way I see the world is not what necessarily garners all of the people. I'm not looking to get the masses. I'm looking to appeal to those that think like I do, and also appeal to those that want to challenge my worldview. Because I don't care about necessarily being popular. I care about being right. And I could be wrong on things, but I'm digressing. My point being, at one point, the discussion of Joe Biden being replaced was only from people like me, Charlie Kirk, Alex Jones, who I think I'm not necessarily the same as Alex Jones, but my point stands. People that speak truth to power rather than speak to masses. Now that even the mainstream is making it more, because it used to be I was a conspiracy theorist for saying anything like that. But now that it's becoming more mainstream for people to discuss the idea of replacing Biden, you'll get it to the moderates. The moderates will see it as a viable option, and then they can replace Biden with someone that they see as a moderate that could potentially beat Trump. One that could, RFK Jr. I don't think the Democrats would ever actually do that, but maybe. You want to know like a plan that I have no evidence for? This is completely just me thinking out loud, and it could likely be totally wrong. But it's a thought I had in my head because I don't know. I haven't talked to obviously the people that are orchestrating the strategy of the DNC. But a thought I've had is that they've known for longer than I did that Joe Biden, they were going to oust Joe Biden. I bet they knew before even Joe Biden knew. Or they could have. And their thought, and the way that it came to fruition, is that they were like, well, we're going to pressure the media to do a debate prior to the nominating conventions. And it's going to go horribly for our candidate. But that is going to open up the public to the idea that, because right now, there are a lot of people that don't want Trump and they don't want Biden. But now this opens up the door where the Democrats can say, oh, wait. The Republicans chose Trump. We thought about Biden, but it's clear that this man who is so dedicated to the service of his country has sacrificed even his own health to serve you, to the point of which we need change. Just like RFK Jr., Michelle Obama, J.B. Pritzker, Gavin Newsom, the devil himself, if they want. Now, I don't know if that's the plan. I don't know. But couldn't it make sense? Couldn't it? Reality is stranger than fiction. That's what I always say. And even with all that, I do want to point out right now that Bill O'Reilly claims that, and it is Bill O'Reilly. Some people really trust him. Some people really don't. It's up to you. But according to leading report, the decision has been made that Biden will not seek re-election, according to Bill O'Reilly. O'Reilly says the White House doesn't know yet or how or when to make the announcement. Reagan Biden family is encouraging the president to stay in the race. That was 4 hours ago, around the same time that Bill O'Reilly came out and said his. Very interesting. So it's been floated. I think Republicans need to stop saying anything that gives it as it's even an option for Biden to drop out. Because if it seems like it is, there's a chance there. Right now, if the election were held tomorrow and it was between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, I am 100% in belief that Donald Trump wins. However, if we open up the public and open up the door for the Democrats to change the candidate, I cannot tell you my prediction. And I don't necessarily think it would be good. I don't. What do you guys think, though? Do you think that Bill O'Reilly's right, that it's all but basically confirmed, all but reported out of the loose lips of Joe Biden's mouth that he's out? What do you think? Let me know in the comments, guys. I'd really appreciate it. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think. But I do want to say, as you guys are commenting on what you think, if you think Joe Biden's out, do you think it'd be good if Joe Biden got out? Anything like that? It opens up a litany of other questions too, such as if Biden withdraws from this race, if he does, then wouldn't it also be conducive or at least consistent to also then resign from the presidency? Because if he withdraws from the race for health reasons, saying that he wouldn't be fit to serve for another 4 years, then what makes him fit to serve today? Right? By his own logic. I mean, of course, I don't believe he's fit to serve, period. But by his own logic, if that were to be what happens, that he decides to resign, or if he's even discussing from resigning from campaigning for health reasons, then why not resign from the presidency as well? And then it opens up more questions, such as, wouldn't this mean Democrats now have to open their primary? Or would they just handpick any Democrat? Where's the democracy in that? As I brought up, you had voters willingly who voted for Joe Biden to be the Democratic nominee. His mental incapability was not a mystery. If it was, I think you should heavily reevaluate your ability to discern information. But wouldn't that be subverting democracy? Wouldn't that be a threat to democracy, as the Democrats always say, to take away the duly elected nominee of the Democrat Party? Wouldn't be the first time. They did it already with Bernie Sanders, with Hillary Clinton. Who knows? Maybe 2024 is a rematch, not of 2020, but of 2016. Maybe it's going to be Hillary Clinton. We really don't know. And to make sure that we keep following it, do not forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think. Comment. I want to see what you guys think about these things. I'm really curious about all of this stuff with Joe. Share this with your friends. Go right now. Go reshare it on Twitter. If you're watching on Twitter, especially go on Facebook, post the YouTube link on Facebook. I'd appreciate it. All that fun stuff. We got another story coming up here, but that is the end of all that I can think of, all that I've processed so far from this debate, the fallout after, and what we're going to see in the weeks to come. Like I said, to follow it with me, make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel and that you follow me. I'd appreciate it. I do have just a few more small stories coming up soon, including a transgender reality star making some weird claims about dating. And then, of course, I'm going to do my dear Kevin reactions to the Dear Abby life advice that comes from the New York Post. So everybody, we will get to that, but I do want to make sure I give one more shout out to Freedom 2.0 and also give me a moment to pull up my next stories. Thank you. I will be right back.
Blah, 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 blah. What are you talking about? Here, have some Freedom 2.0. Man, the Constitution is awesome.
I always love me some Freedom too. I actually was taking a sip of one right during that break because I just keep talking here. I keep talking and talking and talking and talking and talking, and it can stress my throat a little bit. And so to make sure that I can try to keep my voice and stay hydrated, which everybody needs to be hydrated. Everybody could use some more water. I drink Freedom 2.0, and you guys should too. I really appreciate the support that they give to creators like me. So thank you so much, Freedom 2.0, and you guys should support them if you want to support me. I always do want to shout out too, if you want to support me in other ways, you guys, if you have story tips, things you want me to react to, ideas for shows, something that I might have missed, email me speechlesskp@gmail.com, speechlesskp@gmail.com. It's right down there. Go check it out, speechlesskp@gmail.com. You can email me, and if you want to support the show financially, I'd appreciate it. You guys can do super chats, things like that, or you could Venmo or Cash App me and see my equipment get better. You can see better videos. I actually, with a contribution from a fan, I just recently bought mics that I can use outside, and so I can do content in which I go talk to people, random people, strangers, with those mics. So thank you so much. And if you want to see some more stuff like that, definitely consider supporting the show through that. But I want to talk now about this guy. There's a former guy and he's a man, and he was on The Bachelorette. You guys know that show where it's like they have one girl and then they have all these dudes that come in and they are like all dating her for a while. It's really classless. It's trash reality TV, of which I've watched a good amount of, because you get to see what like the worst people in society, how they act when you put them all. It's really what most trash reality TV. It's let's take some of the worst people to exist and put them in a given situation and then watch them be the worst. And if you want to know, and when I say the worst, a lot of times what I mean is that they're usually very, very self-centered, And this is a perfect example of that. There's this one. A Bachelorette star, Josh Cedar, has been going viral for this TikTok. Let's take a look and listen to Josh Cedar of The Bachelorette and what he had to say in this about transphobia right here.
Hey everyone. Sorry, I look like a hot mess today. I just wanted to vent a little bit. I feel like dates can be so cheap. The last couple of dates that I've gone on, I've expected the guy to pay because I feel like the man should pay for the first date.
Then pull out your wallet and your dick because you're a man.
And they just don't want to. And so I just had a date earlier this afternoon, and I sat there when the bill came, and finally I just said, the guy should pay first, and kind of pushed it towards him, and he said, well, in that case, you should pay. And I just thought, that is so rude. And I just don't understand what the issue is. I feel like everyone's trying to get something for free these days. I don't understand.
Wait, did you guys hear that? One more time. After everything that he already said about how the guy has to pay, the guy should pay, and it shouldn't be me because this biological man thinks that he's a woman because he's delusional. Did you hear what he said? Right here.
Issue is, I feel like everyone's trying to get something for free these days.
Oh, that's rich. That's rich, pun intended. I feel like everybody's trying to get something for free these days. Oh, okay. I feel like everybody's trying to get... That's exactly what you're complaining about, is that you're trying to get something for free. You're trying to get everything handed to you. This is a man who pretends to be a woman. He is obviously when I say that a lot of reality TV people are narcissistic egomaniacs, people that are so self-centered and shallow, this is the worst of the worst right here, because he goes so far in so fact that he pretends to be a woman to try to get attention because he craves the attention of others. He is so self-centered that he needs to be everybody look at me at every second of every day. And then constantly says everybody just wants everything handed to them. Everybody just wants something for free. Everybody wants something for free, and I want things handed to me, but why aren't they handing it to me? Let's finish this one out.
I don't understand. I just want to go on a date and have the man be a gentleman and treat me right, treat me like a woman. So if any of you are having the same experience, let me know.
If you want that, then live in La La Land, you fucking idiot. No, that's not how it works. You are a man. You are not a woman. This is some of the most narcissistic behavior ever possible. And that's what I believe actually exists in a significant portion. Maybe not all. Like I want to be clear. I'm not in the field of medicine. I am not a psychologist. This is not an expert opinion. This is my belief, my personal belief, that many in the transgender community, people that believe in something that is not, that they're a gender, they're not. A lot of those people are incredibly selfish, narcissistic, and in some way exhibit egomania. And if you don't believe me, if you think, oh, well, maybe this is just like maybe this guy's actually joking. Like maybe this is supposed to be a joke of a TikTok. No. This same guy last year, he got accused. He had a death hoax scandal. Like he faked his own death. And now he's even he's being accused of faking his gender transition for attention. Here's this. Exclusive. The Daily Mail. Bachelor star, the one that we just talked about, Josh Cedar, is accused of faking his gender transition for attention after a death hoax scandal. But he says trolls are just jealous of his beautiful looks. Once again, in case you forgot, this is him. Whether or not beauty is there is clearly within the eye of the beholder, and I will allow you guys to determine that. But Josh, who uses she, her pronouns, announced his plans to transition in May. The 37-year-old is now facing criticism from fans over the decision. And We can read more at I'm detransitioning after realizing I'm happier as a man. A former Bachelorette star has shocked fans of the franchise by coming out as trans. Josh, who now uses she, her pronouns, announced his plans to transition back in May. While fans were initially supportive, some now have questioned his intentions and accused the reality star of trolling for attention. Cedar, who was caught up in a death hoax last year, raised eyebrows in his gender journey by refusing to shave his body hair and claiming that he felt more feminine when he wasn't wearing a wig. Cedar insisted his transition was the real deal and said his haters were just jealous of the good looks. This is what he looks like when he's not playing dress up. And literally, this man just put on red lipstick, earrings, and a gay top and some gay bracelets. Yeah, it doesn't look like he has the bracelets in that one. That's pretty much what he did. I'm getting lots of hate from the LGBT community and people that fancy themselves gatekeepers, despite them preaching about love, tolerance, and acceptance. The Chicago native. Oh, he's from near me? That's terrifying. I find it ironic that a movement that values freedom and charting our own unique path is also one of the most judgmental. Oh my God. He's largely unfazed by the backlash and rampant speculation. I'm sad my transition has so many people up in arms. I'm trying to see what else of interest that might actually be in here, because I also know that this person, oh my God, that is not a mentally stable individual right there. This is him. This is him. That is not mentally stable whatsoever. He went on to share that he had projected the image of a strong masculine son and brother to the world, but no longer wanted to hide his true self. So now this is what he does. This is an incredibly narcissistic and ego-driven, attention-driven individual. He's all about, now he's like, I'm going to keep my body hair. And he's purposefully causing controversy around this for the purpose of playing the victim for likes and views. This is insane. You look at all this is so weird. Interestingly enough, you realize that this person is a career victim, because last year he emerged online to reveal that he was the victim of a death hoax and got caught up in this whole idea that, oh my gosh, somebody is trying to say that I died and I didn't. Somebody was playing a cruel joke, mocking my mental illness and the struggles I've gone through with depression and suicide attempts. I'm sorry for all the pain that they caused when they made that post. He claims that somebody hacked his account and said that he was dead. Prove it. Prove it. I got to be honest. I think this is a Jussie Smollett type of person who fakes this entire thing. For attention. I think all he lives for is for attention. And I think it's indicative of a lot of those within reality TV. But that's my thoughts. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends. I'd appreciate it. I do want to make sure I get to some comments before I get to my Dear Abby article. I also know a gay Josh. Yep. He doesn't understand pretty privilege. That's funny. Rude? I disagree. I think I'm factual in everything that I said. But let's get to my Dear Abby article. As I want to be clear, I didn't read any of these articles beforehand. All I read was the headline prior to getting to it. And this is because I believe that I am better at giving advice than any of these writers for the New York Post. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my advice to these situations, my unprofessional and by no means advice that you can claim that I told you to do. Take my advice with a grain, for legal reasons, take my advice with a grain of salt and recognize that I am by no means a professional, an expert, or am I claiming to be such? So let's get Dear Abby, or in this case, Dear Kev. Should I tell my alcoholic daughter that I took her out of my will? Oh, this sounds like an interesting one. Dear Abby, I'm a single retired grandfather in the South. My daughter, 50, has hitched her wagon to an alcoholic. She's circling the drain and going down with them. My grandsons are adults and scattered around the country. They are lazy, and none of them has a full-time job. We used to keep them during the summers until their mid-teens. Now I don't hear from them unless I call. And then it's just a bunch of one-word answers. Fine, okay, and yeah. My daughter has no retirement savings or company retirement plan. She doesn't call. She lives 4 hours away. I'm certain my home, property, and possessions are their planned retirement accounts. All I need to do is die. I worked my entire life, spanning a couple of careers, and I owe nothing to anyone. I have visions of my possessions being destroyed by a couple alcoholics or sold off for quick cash. I've decided my estate will be donated to my favorite charity, a worthwhile cause where it will truly mean something to people who care. Should I let my daughter and grandkids know now so they have an opportunity to change course and prepare, or let them be surprised after they don't go to my funeral? Disappointed grandpa in Florida. This is a really sad story, and I also do not think that that this is an uncommon story. I do believe there's people, not necessarily always an alcoholic, but I don't believe that this is something that like doesn't happen that often. That's a double negative. I believe this is something that happens more often than people would like to admit, that in some way there's an estranged child, whether they took a wrong path or a differing path than the parent would have hoped for, and they could see their possessions and everything they plan on passing on to their next generation as being in some way wasted. What I would say is that if you value those things, but you don't believe that a comparable value would be given and placed upon it by your current beneficiaries, then yes, you are absolutely justified in doing all that. But that wasn't even the question. The question is, should he tell her? It's up to you. If your children and grandchildren can't bother to give you more than one word answer, then do they even deserve more than that one word? That's what I'd say. But ultimately, it's up to you, and I by no means am I any kind of expert. So let's get to this next one. Dear Abby, I recently met a man who, even though he asked me to sit down and have a coffee with him, then said he isn't marriage or dating minded. I decided to avoid him, and I'm trying to rid my thoughts of him. But it's difficult because I feel drawn to him. The last time I saw him, I sat down with him, and he asked to hold my hand. I understand that in dating, we may find out that we're not going to get married, but we haven't dated yet. I suppose I appreciate that he's admitting he already knows he doesn't like me enough to marry me. But why ask to hold my hand then? Why ask me to sit down for coffee? It's hard to meet men where I live, and it has been a long time since I was in a serious relationship. To meet someone who seems like a good catch and then be told this is upsetting. Is he playing hard to get? Mixed messages in Pennsylvania. I don't know the context of how you know this person, but I would say he's keeping you on the line. This is what I would say. If he's not willing to make a commitment to you, but at the same time, he's still asking you out for coffee, wants to engage in some way physically, even if it's just hand holding, and wants to act out portions of a dating couple, he's keeping you on the line. He's being upfront so he doesn't hurt his conscience, so that at the end of it, he can say, well, I told you we weren't dating. I told you we weren't getting married. I told you none of that was happening. But at the same time, he believes he has some kind of need. He has need for, I don't know, in this case, hand holding, which I believe might be a euphemism for something else, because this person must have not wanted to actually admit what she did. This person is still going out to coffee with them. What I believe is that the person, mixed messages here, has low self-esteem. And part of that is because she has not been valued, which isn't entirely her fault, but thus has also adopted a belief that she has less value and is willing to subject herself to somebody who from the beginning says that her value to him is limited And the messages he's sending are not mixed. They're clear. You're a placeholder for when somebody comes along that's better to him. You're being used. Avoid him. As much as he might be nice to your face, he's not really that nice of a guy. But I don't know him, and I'm not a professional. So take what I say with a grain of salt. That's what I believe. Anyways, that's my Dear Abby for this week, everybody. That's everything I have for the show for this week. If you guys like that I did, I noticed I seem to get some more interaction from later shows where I started this one a little bit later. I don't know if this will always work within my schedule, but if you do like that I'm starting a little bit later for this show, I started closer to 7 p.m. tonight, Central Standard Time. Let me know what you guys think in the comments of this video, whether you're watching it now live or you watch it later. I'm curious. What time would you guys want to watch live? Because I like to have the comment section going. I like seeing things like this comment. The 3-month rule for the dating. Absolutely. Absolutely. See about a commitment. See about opportunity. Don't waste your time, sister. When a man tells you he doesn't want a relationship, he doesn't. True. She wants him to be who she wants him to be. Exactly. Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody, don't forget, you can always comment even after I'm done live on anything, whether or not whether you watched live or not. You can comment after this is done if you maybe thought of something later, or I didn't get to see your first comment, anything like that. Don't be afraid to comment. I try to respond as much as possible, especially if there's a question asked or anything like that. But I'm going to get out of here for tonight. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you thought of this video through liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing. As always, I'm praying for you. God bless you. God bless America. And thank you so much for tuning in to Speechless.